It was a winter night in the year 1287. The sun had set hours ago, and the village of Alderbrook lay frozen in the silence of the medieval dark. Smoke curled up from the thatched roofs, and inside the small wooden cottages, families gathered. Close, seeking warmth, not just from the hearth, but from each other. Life for peasants in the Middle Ages was not easy, but when winter came, it brought with it a new level of hardship. The cottages were small. Most were made of wattle and daub, wooden, strips woven together, covered in clay and mud. The roofs were made of straw. Windows, if there were any, were simple holes covered with animal hides or shutters. There was no insulation, no glass, no heat except the fire. The fire was everything. In the center of the single-room house, a hearth burned low. Wood was scarce. Peasants couldn't cut trees freely. Those belonged to the lords, so they gathered dead wood or used dried animal dung. Sometimes they burned straw or peat. The smoke would fill the room because chimneys were rare. Instead, a small hole in the roof let the smoke rise out, just enough to breathe, but not enough to stay warm. To sleep through these nights, they shared body heat. The whole family, parents, children, sometimes grandparents, slept together on straw mattresses laid on the dirt floor. The straw was mixed with herbs like lavender or wormwood to keep insects away. Blankets were rare. Most peasants used heavy wool cloaks, patched over. Generations. If they had a sheepskin or fur, it was a treasure. Sometimes they brought animals inside, a pig, a dog, or even a cow. Sleeping with livestock wasn't unusual. The warmth of a cow could raise the room temperature by a few degrees. Chickens roosted. Overhead, everything was about survival, and in the cold, survival meant heat. Peasants also changed their habits with the seasons. In winter they worked less, slept more, and rose later. There was no rush to plough frozen ground. Instead, people repaired tools, mended clothes, or made simple crafts. Time was slower. Life turned inward. They ate what was stored: barley bread, salted meat, turnips, beans, dried apples. Hunger was constant, but worse in winter. Soup was common. A pot would hang over the fire all day, filled with whatever could be spared: bones, vegetables, herbs. This wasn't a feast, it was a ritual of survival. To stay warm, they also layered their clothes: linen undershirts, wool tunics, cloaks. Wool was everything in the medieval world, scratchy but warm. Women wore long dresses with aprons and shawls. Men wore hose, tunics and hoods. Everyone wore layers, even indoors. Boots were stuffed with straw. Gloves were rare, so hands were kept under cloaks. The wind still came through. Peasants would block drafts with sacks, old rags or wooden planks. They stayed near the fire as long as they could, and at night they prayed for warmth and for the fire not to go out. There were no clocks, no watches, just the slow rhythm of the dark. The nights were long. Often, people would sleep in two phases: the first sleep and the second sleep, with a waking period in between. In those hours, they told stories, whispered prayers, or just listened to the wind outside. Cold also brought danger. Illnesses spread easily. There was no medicine for pneumonia or hypothermia. Frostbite could mean death. There were no hospitals, only hope, herbs, and sometimes the church. People believed in warmth of the soul. Faith helped where fire couldn't. Despite the hardship, there was community. Neighbors helped each other. If one family had extra firewood, they shared it. If someone's roof cracked under snow, others came to patch it. Winter tested everyone, but it also united them. And yet, not all peasants were equally poor. Some had slightly better homes: stone walls, chimneys, even separate rooms. These were the reeves, the millers or craftsmen with some status, but even they struggled in the cold. Winter was the great equalizer. The church played a role too. Monks and priests often provided food to the hungry or shelter in abbey barns. Churches were cold, but they gave spiritual warmth. Christmas was the highlight of winter. marked with song, prayer, and modest celebration. Candles were lit, and the dark felt less heavy, if only for a while. But winter didn't end with Christmas. It stretched into February, sometimes longer. The ground stayed frozen, livestock died, grain ran low, and still, peasants endured. 1 day at a time. Their strength lay not in comfort, but in adaptation. They didn't expect ease. They expected hardship, and in that expectation, they found resilience. They found the small joys, a warm bowl of broth, a shared story by firelight, a child's laughter echoing off frostbitten walls. That was the medieval winter. It was cold, harsh, and silent. But in that silence, there was life. Fragile, persistent, and deeply human. Now, centuries